child trafficking is the fuel for Satanism and Luciferianism. What is up, everybody? Buckle up for this one, okay? Because this is where we start to go into the airy fairies of it all a little bit. But I need you guys, because one thing I have noticed, we're obviously continuing in this video. In this current series, I'm doing about how all religions are evil, which is part of a bigger series that I'm doing about why if God is good, why is there evil in the world? Why do human beings choose evil? And the question I have that I'm asking God even today throughout this video, and whoever knows when I'm going to get to an answer, is why people get involved with this stuff anyway. Because I'm like, why would you choose this? Because what you guys don't see, what I feel like the world doesn't seem to understand, but you guys were at the winning team, is it's all connected. And child trafficking is like at the center point of it, because children within just the concept of them is the concept of life, right? So if you think back to the Garden of Eden, there was two trees, right? The tree of the knowledge of good and evil and the tree of life. And I'll give you the simplest example of how you know that us choosing knowledge doesn't help anything, right? Is just look at your life. The older we get, the more we learn. It's not like we're learning more that's going to add years to our lives. Even now, funnily enough, a lot of these heinous people, they believe, as Epstein had said to, I think it was Virginia, who quoted him, always laughing about how it doesn't matter when he dies because he's going to be kept in a cryogenic chamber and reawakened when they figure out how we live forever. When scientists figure that out, and he'll be coming back to life in however many 100 years, because they do believe it's like, I think 100 years from now or something, that they're going to figure out how we're going to skip death. You see that? All of it, it's so ironic. I find it so ironic because I believe the devil is the truest loser. Now God's just like, hey, you can just choose me and like my ways and you'll have life. But instead we'd rather do all the work of going and seeking out knowledge, going and doing all of this. Hence why we have the science industries, right? Where, again, children at the forefront. Why do I say that? Well, because they are the ones whose cells can turn into anything. So like having an embryo, for example, an embryo can become any body part. It can become a full human being. So the idea of being able to use those types of things, this is why nowadays, whether it's just for the sake of business, they could start making factories where they produce in factories human hearts from human flesh. This is why I say again, a lot of times they'll say, scientists will be like, yeah, we're in favor of abortions and this for women because women's rights. I'm like, they don't care about your rights. They want to take that baby out of you. They want to take that baby out of you so they can use your cells. That's what they're trying to do. So they don't care about you. And this is what I'm saying. It's all about furthering this agenda of a very small group of people. And unfortunately, the guinea pigs that are the most useful are the kids. Because again, as we all know from the adrenochrome stuff I talked about with you guys, the blood of like kids when they when they have to be under torture, extreme torture, and pain, and the adrenaline that they release is what they use for adrenochrome, which is known to be good for increasing your life expectancy. You know what I mean? Making you more youthful. So it's quite funny that the thing about Satanists, true Satanism at its highest extent, this is why I think the world at large is pretty ignorant. At the highest extent, the rest of us are just lab rats. We're all just lab rats to either work in their businesses so they can afford to do this stuff and whatever, because essentially the devil and them have gone and made a deal to say, hey, I'm going to skip death. I have all this knowledge. I have all of this. If you work with me and we all work as a team, those of you who are close in with me, you're going to get to skip death. Yes, those other ones are going to go to hell, but who cares anyways? We don't care about them. We're in this for ourselves, right? Which again is the exact opposite of godliness, which is where it's like, no, this is a gift for everybody. We're trying to make this as free of a gift for everybody. And this is why there will always be the clash between true godliness and true Satanism, right? Because we have different agendas. When God uses people, it's for their betterment. God's like, I'm going to do more for you than what you even believe of yourself. And the devil's like, you're just a pawn in the game. You know what I'm saying? You're just a part of what I need to do. I don't care about you. Because remember, the devil hates us. This is something I need us to understand. The enemy hates us. So that's why he doesn't want to bring us. I never understand people who pridefully call themselves like Satanists, Luciferianists, or atheists, which are two different things. Obviously, atheists say they don't believe in anything, which I just think that's just a lie. I'm going to just say it from now onwards. I think it's a lie. I think people have issues with God, right? And that's what I actually almost think is like the full extension of what Satanism is and the devil, which I'm going to talk more about pride and the devil because I've been thinking about him a lot, right? And not just from the like, oh, this evil, whatever. Because like, guys, even science says energy cannot be created nor destroyed. Like nothing's just happening for no reason. And that's why, again, science loves to tell us that because it's like, oh no, and everything's just happening for like no reason at all. This disease just came out from nowhere. It's not in the food we're giving you. It's not in the way that we're conducting the world. It's not the demons. This just came out from nowhere, right? Because they're trying to use us. We are the guinea pigs. I said to you guys, I believe that this big event that we all went through, this thing in 2020 and beyond, was one giant experiment where we were all the guinea pigs. And I just think that kids are the best version of that, guinea pigs. And because, again, there's so much about youthfulness, the innocence of it, right? Even with God, when it came to sacrificing, he didn't ask them to, they would sacrifice the lamb. Jesus considered the lamb. There's this purity and innocence of youth. And obviously, God created us to be his life force. So the devil has to kind of siphon off of us in order to have any power. He has to control over us to have any power because God breathed life into us and he gave us domain here on earth. And again, the older you get as an adult, the more you start to realize, well, this doesn't add up and this doesn't add up. So that's again why, even when it comes to like things like Hollywood, everything is always, even sports. Oh, you peak at age 25. Oh, that's so freaking coinkadinkle, isn't it? Just at the same age where they're saying our prefrontal lobe finally forms, just when you actually become an adult. So that translates to me as, oh, you were just really easy to take advantage of. You were just really easy to use for whatever I want my use for. And that's exactly what I'm realizing is actually what so many parts of so many modern religions actually is. I was thinking about this earlier, how Satanism is like one on the one extreme, and having a true, real relationship with God is another extreme. And in the middle, we have religion, right? And all of this is religion. So the more you like religion in of itself, right? It's doing whatever you're doing for what you're getting out of it. Yeah. And having a relationship with God, it's about love. So love and religion are like two opposite sides, and love is God and religion is the devil, right? Because I'm doing something transactional, and the more selfish you get, the closer you get to Satanism. And that's why people find it hard to get close to God, because they're used to these transactional relationships. If it's in Islam, if it's in whatever, you do stuff because of what you're getting out of it. Even Christians today, they do things because of what they're getting out of it, right? I serve God because I want to go to heaven. I serve God because I don't want to go to hell. You know what I'm saying? No one really cares these days. And I talk about this a lot because it really upsets me. No one really cares about having a relationship with God. They care about what they can get. And I've told you guys, this is just the world we live in. This is what I've realized. When I look left and right and I look at how relationships operate, it's no wonder relationships are in a shambles, friendships, families, you name it. It's no wonder that people are so lonely. It's no wonder that, look, we now outsource everything. Like I said, everything has to be outsourced because there's no love here, because love has become this transaction. As long as you give me what I want, if it seems to work basically. If there's an overlap between what you are willing to give and what the other person wants, then it works. But that's not even love, because I was thinking about that earlier, that, love is so much more nuanced. Like, so much of questions that people ask, like, I don't like so many questions that people ask when it comes to friendships and relationships. Like, what point would you not allow this or you would allow that? I'm like, you know what? I don't care, because there's so much levels to it. Like, there's love, like, you have to think about love and what people need and being sacrificial. And again, when you are in with God, you sacrifice yourself. You're the sacrifice. That's why the Bible says, live like a living sacrifice. We sacrifice ourselves. We sacrifice because that's love. Love is sacrificial, right? But in Satanism, you need to sacrifice. And who better than the kids, right? No wonder. And this is what makes so much sense to me, why the world has become a place where everybody hates kids, and why it will always kind of be that way. Is they're the easiest to take advantage of. The easiest. Like I say, parents will complain about, oh, you know, they lost their temper at their kid, but, you know, being a parent is hard. And I'm like, and how many times did your boss at your work, at your job you've been working for 30 years, annoy you? How many times did you just grit your teeth and shut up? Yeah, because it's your job on the line and because it's another adult. But because it's your kid, all of a sudden, you don't have to hold back anymore. You know what I'm saying? Why do you think people are attracted to taking advantage of kids? Because they're moldable. They can be convinced. If the devil could take everybody's kids, that would be the easiest way to fulfill his mission, because he could just sway them, right? This is why I'm so against the education system. He can sway them in his favor, right? To be his workers. It's like for the same, I'll give you like, it's like the devil would send you to business school so that you can become a CEO in his business. But the God will just give you the business and let you be the one to run it for yourself, and you be the one to be the owner, right? You might wonder why I'm using that as an example, because again, I remember when I did my business thing, the guy who was teaching it, he said, going studying business is a waste of time because you're being taught to be to work in somebody else's business. The education system is literally setting us up on purpose at every level, whether it's the least respected to the most respected job, to fill all those roles so that these people can go off and do what they want to while we make them money. And then we go spend our money in those same businesses. This is why I've been getting so frustrated with this, with all these holidays, right? And all this everything. Yeah, even I'm about to go on another child trafficking deep dive because of this interview by this member of parliament, right? You know, even Rishi Sunak in this country, bro, bought like a third of Moderna, right? This is the prime minister, or was the prime minister. I don't even know who's prime minister at the moment. Isn't that crazy? I don't care, because you guys heard me go on my rant about how I don't care about politicians anymore, because they're all just the same thing and they're all just from the same team. So it doesn't really matter whether it's Labour or Conservative in this country, whether it's Republican or Democrat over there. Doesn't matter. It's all just the same, and it's all just a big play to get us to sway our votes, to look like and give us the perception that we have power when we really don't, because we've given our power away, right? We're just being swayed on purpose. And that's why, again, child trafficking is so important, because they can't do it in our face, because if we saw what they were doing in our face, we would rise up against it. That's why it has to be done it has to be hidden. In the same way that, you know, because all the Nephilim and all this were out and about, you know, at the times of Noah, and because we could see and we were interacting with the angels, then it got so heinous that God had to intervene. Of course, the devil's going to do things in secret now and try to just deceive us without us seeing, because if we don't know, then we don't know. And that's better, right? So the way I look at everything is, we live in a world where there's two extreme minorities, like a small minority of us who actually on the winning team, right? Who are actually, you know, building a relationship with God, trying to actually, you know, understand what love is supposed to be and how we are to love others, right? And we pay for it the most heavily. And on the other side, you've got the people living the most lavish of all lifestyles, and they're the ones who are willing to sacrifice everybody else for it. You know what I'm saying? I even saw that, you know, apparently people are going into debt now to buy tickets for Harry Styles. Do you think if these celebrities actually cared and were actually empathetic about your life situation, right, that they would actually do this stuff? Do you think they need the money? Like, as somebody who's looked into for my own events and stuff, like how much it costs to hire venues, like, you should actually go and look into some of this stuff yourself, you guys, and see how much some of these things cost. It's just a money grab. Come and work for our companies. Oh, prestigiously I work for JP Morgan Chase. You guys know that's always my go-to pet peeve one. I work for JP Morgan Chase, because that's the one I heard so many times, you know, like in my my degree, or GlaxoSmithKline, right? You go and have that job. You don't get to see your family. You don't get to build on the things that God actually created for us, because God created for us to have each other, because he wanted relationships to be at the forefront of our lives. And you know how I know that? Biblically, because Jesus came, why? John 14:6. I am the way, the truth, and the life. The only way to the Father is through me. He came for a relationship. He came to restore relationship. He came on a reconciliation mission. That's what he came for, right? And so that's what God is doing. And meanwhile, we're just like, you know, I was learning about Hinduism earlier as well, that, you know, they believe that the more you do this, the gods will give you money and power and the pleasures of this world as long as you do this. Everything's transactional. And that's why I'm like, it's not that crazy to believe what these people are doing. I don't know why people are so shocked. I don't know why people think there's so many good people in the world. I don't know why we have this idea that like, oh, there's this minority of, I'm like, just look at the state of things. Listen to people talking. Like sometimes I'll be listening to somebody explaining like whatever about their life, and I'm like, and how upset they are at so-and-so because they can't forgive so-and-so for doing such and such to them. And I'm like, there's a part of me that thinks the Lord is trying to push me to a point where I start calling people out about what I'm like, the kind of thing I'm about to say. And I'm like, and what about you? And what about what you've contributed to this? What about who you've hurt in the world? What about how you have been a disappointment? What about the people that are crying and hurt because of you or paying for therapy because of you? No, but you don't, and now you want to justify yourself. You see what I'm saying? It's selfish. It's selfish, and you get to choose. And again, the only people who don't understand that is kids. The kids don't get it. The kids, they're just like, they're here, they're hopeful, they believe everybody loves them. It was like that kid I told you about, it's such a sad story, who left a message after he took his life. It was like 12. I don't know if it was a boy or a girl. Excuse me. And was like, hey mom, I heard you said that that your life had got worse ever since I was born, and I love you so much, and because I love you, that's why I took my life. Can you believe? I was thinking, I love Club Penguin. I used to play Club Penguin, and I'm so sad they took it away, right? Do you know that my generation, most of us had a smartphone before the age of 12? That's scary to think about. One thing I never thought about, I've been talking a lot about Roblox and how, Roblox and predators on there. Do you know what I never thought about at all? While I was on here on Club Penguin and with all these public servers, it never occurred to me until somebody said it that there were predators on Club Penguin. Me there just as a kid. And I've told you, even as a kid, I'm here on Facebook. I want my picture there, right? And if I look like a baby face today, imagine me at 13 and I've got grown men in my DMs talking about, oh, but you look mature for your age. Because I told you guys, I've never lied about my age. To anyone, because I always knew about the law and I was always trying to do the right thing. So I'm like, okay, I'll tell people my age, and as long as I'm honest, that's fine. So then I would get groomed because I would be thinking, well, I've been honest, and they're telling me that, oh no, it's fine, you're mature for your age. Like, oh, I didn't know that. That's how this works. See what I'm saying? So that's why I'm even here sitting, like wondering, like beating myself up, like turning 30 next year, thinking I've been such a stupid freaking idiot my whole life. And I'm like, actually, it's not even that. It's that I was a child, that I'm easy to manipulate. I was easy to take advantage of. I was ignorant. And to this day, people feel comfortable to just touch me and do whatever. And I'm like, you wouldn't do this to a grown man. You wouldn't do this to, whatever, these experiences that I'd be going through. And it made me realize that, like, because that's the world we're living in. The world wants excuses to be selfish. And Satanism is just the fulfillment of that. And children are just the perfect victim and the perfect guinea pig at the same time. A lot of people very much over-sexualize a lot of these predators as if they really deeply... I think it's not so much that they're obsessed with, taking advantage of the kids themselves. I think they're obsessed with being able to be entitled to innocence. It's one of those things I always hated about the historical dynamics between men and women, and how men just get to put themselves inside anyone, and then you want to come and put yourself inside of me, and you want me to be a spotless lamb, and you want to come and take yourself who's been in everybody else into me. That's sickening to me, by the way. That's sickening. That's disgusting. Sorry, I'll say it. It's disgusting. It's the same kind of energy as these predators. You want to do whatever you want to do, and then you want to just go and have another fresh one to come and take somebody who's, you know what I'm saying? And that's one of the things I hate about being a woman as well, where it's just like, that's so ugly. Why would you even want to do that? Why would you even want to do that? You know what I mean? Like, but again, it's the entitlement. It's the desire for innocence. Because it's enticing. Because it's nice to have something new and fresh. Right? This is why we all talk about, I've been referring to myself as damaged goods, because I'm like, yeah, bro, actually, the older I get, the more I struggle with this, the more it's just getting worse. And it's true, whether it's just my aging itself or how I think or how I feel, it's just more and more corrupting, in my opinion. As a kid, things were so black and white and beautiful. As a kid, everything was so hopeful and the world was so whatever, and I was so ready. As an adult, the longer it goes on, the more it just feels like this is a prison sentence that I can't wait to end. You know what I mean? The older I get, the more it just feels tiring trying to, navigate exactly what to do and what to this, because again, we're all unpacking childhood. Are we surprised? It's so crazy. And then we live in a world, again, the selfishness of it all. Kids don't have a voice. Kids don't get to be having an opinion. You're supposed to shut, I was listening to this woman talk about how she, and this is a very common thing. As an adult, we don't have skills of knowing how to confront things, because we were always told as kids, that you don't have a voice, your opinion doesn't matter. And just speaking up as being misbehaving. That's a cop-out. That's a cop-out for not wanting to be held accountable. We see the same thing in the church. Kids might want to call out the hypocritical things that they're seeing, or just asking questions because things don't make sense. That's why I love when kids ask questions, to me, because I'm like, I'd rather if they're seeing something that doesn't make sense, they're not just trying to, just because you're dealing with your demons and it's revealing that you aren't who you think you are, or that you are a hypocrite, doesn't mean that the kid is in the wrong, because they're just looking at it like I remember once upon a time, there was an adult Christian person who I was having a discussion with, and I was so confused because I was a kid, right? And then I saw them lying in a particular type of situation, right? And I was like, I thought we were not supposed to lie. Like, I'm just asking. Can I just ask? Because I'm getting mixed messages here. But again, because you're a kid, oh, no, just shut. So don't be thinking, why I'm saying this is, let's not think we're so far away from this type of stuff ourselves, and that we're not participating in this type of stuff ourselves. Because we very much are, in my opinion. We very much are. We very much are happy to turn the blind eye to the kids, to not have to address things with them, purely because they're children. All the devil's doing is actually getting rich and more powerful as a result. That's the difference. And that's why I'm saying it's like a scale. Because the truth is, children are the ones who need the most sacrifice. You have to sacrifice everything for them. So having them and them existing actually tells us the truth about us as a society. The fact that predators get a slap on the wrist, P. Diddy's doing 4 years after all these things. The fact that people are more fixated on things like 50 Cent did a documentary, how petty. Oh my gosh, so-and-so was on the Epstein list. And no one talking about where the kids are. Because my question is, where are the kids? Where are the victims? Where are the current victims? Where are they? And why are we not accounting for them? But even the world doesn't care. Even the world doesn't care. Even the church doesn't care. The church is more caring about being in division with itself. Oh, I don't agree with the Presbyterians over there. Oh, we don't believe with the evangelicals. We don't agree with this. We don't know about this. Like, I've been getting sick of listening to Christians, by the way, just talking about absolutely anything at this point. Like, I had to listen to some newsletters. I follow a lot of different people. And like, I was going through my emails earlier while I was working, because I was trying to find this other email for something for work. I need to find somebody's contact details. And as I was just scrolling through and I was looking at just the topics, I'm like, you know what's so funny? We're never talking about the most vulnerable group of society, which is the children. Even in the church, we're the same ones. Like, oh, the kids are the nuisance. Oh, there's a baby crying. Yeah, because they're a baby. You know what I mean? It's like when kids, throw tantrums or whatever. It's like, yeah, because guess what? That same logic of, oh, it's our first time at living, you use as an excuse as an adult. It's their first time at living. They're having emotions that they don't understand. They don't understand anything. They don't understand if you don't tell them. And I learned this so much in my job, where I think I'm talking to a kid and I'm like, wow, what I'm thinking seems so obvious, but then I forget it's obvious to me because I've had skin in the game. And I'll say something small to them and they're like, whoa, I never thought about it like that. And it's like, you know what? Yeah, of course you didn't, because you're a child. It's our job to look after you. And so that's why the devil is so fixated on kids. That's why child trafficking is so important. Because from kids, they can have everything they want, whether it's science and all the different experiments, the experiments about life, the experiments about increasing youthfulness, the experiments manufacturing things to get us to make more money out of us so we can start paying them for our heart surgery and paying them for this and that, right? Whether it's abusing them on a spiritual level, because obviously the most important part is for, the devil wants to put his finger up at God, basically, and be like, ha, look what we're doing to your most precious creation, a child, right? When even the Bible says it's better to throw yourself in the sea attached to a millstone, like literally kill yourself, than to hurt one of these little ones. And the Bible tells us to have childlike faith. And the Bible tells us that children are a gift. right? And we say that, oh, it's a blessing to have kids, but all I hear is complaints about kids. That's all I hear. All I hear. And then people like, and I respect, and this is the point, when people are complaining, it's like, that's cool. The fact that like, they're not talking about things being difficult. We can all talk about things being difficult, okay? We can all talk about things being difficult. That's okay. What I'm saying is when we take it a step further, as if your kids owe you anything for living, right? And like parents be like, oh, it's so nice to see a grateful child. It's like, why do you expect your 13-year-old to understand so much? And why is everything about you? Why are you so entitled? Oh, my kid doesn't show appreciation. Oh, my kid this. My kids better look up. And I'm having kids to look after myself when I'm older. I'm like, you're just the same. I don't see that energy as any different to the devil. Because a lot of you are still doing the molesting anyway. This is what's so crazy. And this is why I realize the older generation is guilty. They're guilty of a lot of things. They're guilty of these things. Hella freaking guilty. That's why they don't like to people like me to say the stuff I'm saying. And they always, oh, but you know, parenting's such a hard job. That's just a cop-out. We know that. It's obvious. Yeah, love is difficult. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. And that's why you'd rather find it easier to deal with humans, because you can say to another adult person, oh, sorry, I'm not a professional therapist. Oh, sorry, I'm not a professional doctor. Oh, if you need help with that, you should go and study such and such. I was thinking about that as being a teacher. It's like, you know what? What was I thinking yesterday? Hold on, let me see if I can remember the exact phrase. Teaching is another form of outsourcing. Having the schools. Historically, always parents taught their kids. You learn the trade with the family, through your family, through your village. You know what I'm saying? That's why if Joseph was a carpenter, Jesus is a carpenter. We used to see it in society. We don't see these things anymore. We're seeing businesses in like places like this country and places like the United States shutting down that ran through families for hundreds of years because people didn't bother to teach the next generations about the family business. So meanwhile, they're being advised instead to go and get a student loan, right? Rather than, hey, we've got a whole family business here, or live like a village. We're just outsource. We're outsourcing again because you would rather. I genuinely believe a lot of parents say, "Oh well, we would do this if we could." You're lying. You're lying. You're lying. You love that you get to go somewhere where you only have to deal with adults who you have a lot of rights to not have to do anything for. You'd rather pay your tax so that your kids can go to school so you can have them off your back. I believe if we want to solve this issue, we need to just remove childcare as a concept. People would stop having, that would be the greatest form of contraception. I believe this generation of parents that came before were like, oh, there's so much, we just send our kids to school and they just spend their time at school and we should just wherever at school, as long as we make enough money, we can pay for somebody else to look after them. You know, and it was funny, I was thinking about this one time when I was working with this woman, right? And she would act like, you know, she's so caring for her son, whatever. But literally, when I would see her, she would not spend like pretty much any time of the day, bearing in mind this son is 2, almost any time of the entire day with him, despite in her mind thinking, and she's the one who's looking for somebody to help. Besides, she's not working. She doesn't have anything to do for most of the day. And when she does spend time with him, she's taking him to like, you know, mum and son swimming or whatever. And I was just like, do you even like, I don't think you actually like a child, like, to be honest with you. Because every single part of it seems to be a drag to you. You're not even working. You're like living with a man who makes millions and does everything for you. Somebody's being paid to clean. Somebody's being paid. Like, and I meet a lot of people, like, and I just realized that people, because we live in a world where everybody hides from saying what they really think, a lot of people really don't feel the way that they're saying out loud. Like, a lot of people are pretending like, oh, you know, yeah, oh, this is such a blessing. Or deep down, they're like, oh, if I could get out of this, if I could get out of this tomorrow, I would. But they can't say that, right? We can't say that. So people just then act, they're like, oh my gosh, no, but it's such a blessing. It's like, but is that what you're really thinking? And that's again why people can't face God and why having a relationship with God is difficult, because you have to deal with the truth. And I'm going to talk about pride and the truth in the next video. You have to deal with the truth of who you are. You have to do the truth of the state of yourself. And that's not easy to do. It's easier to go the other route, which is, I was going to say, pride is like the perfect form of avoidance. Pride being what the devil does. You avoid the truth. You avoid whatever. Right? So you could just say, oh, no. You know, it's just so hard to look after kids. It's like, okay. So there's us, that's in the middle of society. Right? And then at the furthest end, we have the ones who are like, yeah, you know what? The kids, they are the greatest tools. It's sickening. Even in modern day society, even on social media, there's people just having babies for the sake of the fact that it makes good content. They know what they're doing. They know the platforms they're putting their kids on. They know that there's creepazoids out there. They know exactly what they're doing, but they don't care because they're making money. When they changed the laws, I think it was in California, you had people on social media moving. As I'm saying, can you understand that if that's just main society, not people who identify as Satanism, how much worse do you think for the people who know who they're dealing with and know they're dealing with the devil? How much more do you think these people who know what they're going to cut the cost is of them being on the other side? Because that's the funny thing. Your only idiots are the majority of the people in the middle, to be honest. Those are the only true idiots. Because it's like, on this side, on the winning side, we know that, hey, this is what we've signed up for. This is like, we love sacrificially. That's what love is, right? And, you know, on their end, they at least know, hey, we know that's true over there. We don't want to participate. We know that what our actions are going to cause death. So we're just going to see if we can figure out a way to skip on the death thing. And that's where obviously it's a huge deception. But again, pride, because it's easier to throw yourself into that than it is to face up to your demons, to face up to yourself, maybe to face up to what you've been through. A lot of them, I think, are doing it. I said this about Diddy and I said this about Epstein because it happened to them and they've got undealt with trauma. The rest of us are over here doing the work, right? Of like, hey, this happened, that happened, talking about it and going through it. It's ugly. It's unusual. It's uncomfortable. Even just doing it yourself makes other people uncomfortable. I'm like, it's always so funny how uncomfortable it makes other people, me healing myself. Like me coming on here and telling you guys about what I'm going through, me being honest and me addressing my demons makes other people uncomfortable. And it's like, yeah, because you can't do it. Because you're too scared, because you're in pride and you're avoiding it. And I'm looking at you because that's the truth, guys. You know how I'm always firing shots at the older generations. It's because I've seen the way they've turned out. I've seen how they're just so in bondage. You're always making excuses. Always the victim, never the vessel, as Marcus Rogers said. I don't want that for myself. I'm going to be one or the other. That's why God says about not being lukewarm. He's like, I'm going to spit you out. I'd rather be hot or cold. At least be good at what you do. If you're going to be a loser, at least loser to the max. At least be rich and famous and at the freaking billionaire banquet with Kris Jenner and Jeff Bezos and all these people. Not some broke victim person in the middle. That's just as pathetic. Hey, at least for me on the other side, these guys might be enjoying life here. They know what they're doing. They think they're going to skip death. Leave them to it. At least they're enjoying their time here. On your paycheck. On your time. With your sacrifice and the things you want to do and the things you want to be, then I'm like, you know, and this is why, that's why I'm saying child trafficking is at the middle point because they need a way to like get away with masses of kids. Even this Prime Minister dude was saying, ex-Member of Parliament was saying that, you know, wars are the best way to for a lot of kids to go missing and for nobody to notice. And I've thought about things like this, about situations where I was thinking about this with the whole immigration thing and them having all these immigration camps and stuff. I'm like, none of us are there. This is probably another tactic to have an excuse to just have a bunch of kids go disappearing and no one talk about it. And I actually think, and this is the deepest thing about it, I actually think that some kids have gone missing. I think some parents have actually been happy and just haven't even bothered to report it because they're like, honestly, I kind of regretted it anyway. I think they're involved and they're supportive or they're willing to give up their kids for money or to make money by abusing kids because we see this even in the systems. People get adopted, people get paid. Obviously, it makes sense to give people money who are happy to adopt as in to help them look after the kids. But other people are just like, hey, I'm going to just keep you in the shed and I'm going to make all this money. We've heard so many of these stories, guys. We've seen so many examples that I genuinely want to know from everybody. When are we going to realize the world is not a good place? And all that these elites are doing, they're just the loudest and most visual version. In true Satanism over there, doing things. And look, they are benefiting off of the things of this world. That's exactly what's to be expected. Because they're being selfish. Because that's how the world works. The more selfish you are, the better off you're going to be. Even Scientology has the same concept. Or that all of our traumas and stuff stop us from doing what we would do, all of our experiences, and we should just always do whatever it is we want to do. That is literally the law of Satan. Do what thou wilt, do whatever you want. Why does God have rules? Or every single one part of the law in the Bible, it's about love. It's about love. Love thy neighbor as thyself. You know what I mean? Love other people. Treat other people how you would want to be treated. Not what you're prepared to do. Not what you're prepared to... Like, so much of the time when people talk about what they want from a friend, what they want from a family, what they want from a relationship, what they want. I'm like, and what are you bringing to the table? What are you going to do? What kind of friend do you plan to be? What kind of family do you plan to, how do you plan to sacrifice? Or do you just want what you get out of it? That's why I'm sick of relationships. I've said this before. I think they're fake and phony in this life. And a lot of the people in relationships, the reason why we have some, do you know the happiest people, the people that sleep the best at night? The most selfish ones. The most selfish ones. Because they're comfortable demanding, and then they'll find somebody who's willing to do it if they're getting something out of it, whatever, and they'll sleep well. This is why I can't sleep, you guys, because what am I supposed to just be enjoying my life knowing full blown well that there's kids? I like to, like, this is why I'm dedicating my Sabbath even now. Well, I might be, because who knows, the Lord takes me wherever he takes me, to looking into all this child trafficking stuff again. Because I'm like, yeah, I'm going to take my time of rest, you know what I mean? But like, guess who doesn't get to rest? These kids. Guess who doesn't have to get to have a nice meal or get to, you know, demand what they want? The kids. Because the older they get now, at the grand age of 28, coming on 29, I'm now for the first time learning how to actually defend myself and have a voice. You know what I'm saying? It's horrifying because it's the world I live in. Now that I'm an adult, I get more respect. But then how does that make any sense when we say, oh, children are precious and to be looked after, but who's looking after them? So anyway, I'm going to leave that there. I've got more videos to come. I've got so many things to say. Shock. Are we surprised? Probably not. Well, I just wanted to start with that. But yeah, all religions are evil. And I think Satanism, this is why child trafficking is at the center point. Because it's like, we don't have time to try and with adults, because adults, they're all damaged goods anyway, right? And they're all plagued and they're all whatever, or they'll not be easily swayed. The kids, they're pure, they're innocent. And whether it's on a biological level, a spiritual level, or just a mental level, they are the greatest victim, the perfect guinea pig. It's as simple as that. But then, of course, we can't do this out loud because in the world, who wants to believe that they're good and who wants to protect, like, act like they care, won't allow it because they'll be like, oh, how could you? Meanwhile, you're guilty yourselves anyway. And that's why they kind of just still do it. And they kind of still do it in our face. That's why they're kind of all laughing and all clinking champagne together at the billionaire banquets and stuff. Laughing at us. Because they know. They're like, we know who you are. We've just decided we're not going to pretend that we're anything different from what we are. We've just decided, they've given in. And it's like, we're going to use you and your desperation to see yourself as good despite clearly not being against you. Ladies and gentlemen, this series will be linked in the description box below. Because if life's a game, let's play to win. Listen, guys, there's only 2 teams. And if you're not sure which team you're on, that's probably the dangerous place to be. God bless you all. God loves you. I love you. And I'll see you in my next one.